My sister threw a housewarming party in my apartment and told everyone she owned it, saying, she'll never stand up for herself anyway. So I let the guests settle in before dropping a bombshell that had her screaming because I came home to find strangers in my living room. Not just one or two, but at least 20 people, laughing, drinking, and making themselves at home, in my apartment. For a second, I thought I was in the wrong place. But no, that was definitely my couch, my rug, my art on the walls. My heart started pounding as I took it all in. Who were these people, and why were they here? Then I saw her. My sister, Nadia, standing in the middle of the room, holding a glass of wine and laughing like she didn't have a care in the world. When she noticed me, her smile faltered for just a second before she waved and rushed over. "Oh, hey. You're back early." "Early?" I said, my voice low. "Nadia, what's going on? Who are all these people?" She glanced over her shoulder, then leaned in, whispering, "Just some friends from work." I told them this was my place. I thought I misheard her. "You did what?" She rolled her eyes like I was the one being unreasonable. "Relax. It's just for tonight. They don't need to know it's your apartment." I stared at her, feeling my hands shake. "You told them this was your apartment?" Nadia's expression hardened. "Look, it's no big deal. You weren't using it, and I needed to make a good impression. Besides, it's not like you care about stuff like this." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I'd let her borrow my apartment because she said she needed a quiet place to study. I had no idea she was planning a party, let alone pretending that my apartment was hers. I looked around again, seeing everything with fresh eyes. The balloons tied to my dining chairs. The "Welcome Home" banner hanging across my fireplace. The pile of housewarming gifts stacked neatly in the corner. The rage I felt was like nothing I'd ever experienced before. But more than that, I felt hurt. How could she lie like this? And so easily? I was ready to confront her right then and there, to tell everyone the truth and watch her perfect little image fall apart. But then I heard a woman's voice behind me. "This place is amazing, Nadia. I can't believe you could afford something like this in Seattle." Nadia's face lit up with that fake smile she used on people she wanted to impress. "Oh, you know, hard work pays off." I felt sick to my stomach. She was stealing my life, my hard work, and passing it off as her own. And no one had any idea. I opened my mouth to say something, but Nadia grabbed my arm, her nails digging into my skin. "Please," she whispered, her eyes pleading. "Just, don't ruin this for me. Just for tonight. I'll clean everything up, I promise." For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. But then I remembered all the other times she'd used me, lied to me, taken advantage of me because she knew I wouldn't stand up for myself. I thought about the time she borrowed my car and got a parking ticket, then swore it wasn't her. Or the time she forgot her wallet at dinner, knowing I wouldn't make a scene. This was just another way for her to use me, only this time, it was my whole life she was taking. I felt my heart harden. She wasn't getting away with it this time. I forced a smile, swallowing the anger rising in my throat. "Fine. I won't ruin your night." Her shoulders relaxed, and she let go of my arm. "Thank you. I knew you'd understand." But I didn't understand. Not even a little. I walked past her, keeping my head down so no one would notice the fury on my face. I went to my room, shutting the door behind me. I needed a minute to think, to breathe. But as soon as I sat down, I heard voices right outside my door. "Nadia's so lucky," one of them said. I heard this place cost almost $1 million. I could practically hear Nadia's smug smile. "Well, you know, I just fell in love with it the moment I saw it. I had to have it." I clenched my fists so hard my nails dug into my palms. She wasn't just lying, she was building an entire fantasy around my life. That's when I heard her say it, the words that made me see red. Yeah, my sister could never pull off something like this. She's always been simple. No ambition. I feel bad for her sometimes. But, hey, we can't all be successful, right? I couldn't breathe. She was standing in my apartment, surrounded by my things, telling people that I was the failure. That I was nothing compared to her. I almost burst out of my room right then, ready to tear her apart in front of all her fancy friends. But then I stopped. If I confronted her now, she'd play the victim. She always did. She'd cry, say she was just trying to impress people, and everyone would feel sorry for her. No. She didn't deserve my anger. She deserved consequences. Real consequences. I took a deep breath, letting the rage settle into something colder, something more controlled. If she wanted to live my life so badly, maybe it was time to give her a taste of what that really meant. I knew exactly what I was going to do. But first, I had to let the party play out. I had to let her feel like she'd won. So I stayed in my room, listening to the laughter, the compliments, the lies. I listened as she painted herself as the perfect, successful woman she so desperately wanted to be. I listened as she told them about her plans for the place, new curtains, maybe a different paint color in the kitchen. As if she had any right to change anything in my home. I heard them toast to her new beginnings, to her beautiful home, and to her success. And with every cheer, I felt my resolve grow stronger. She thought I'd never stand up for myself. She was wrong. I just had to wait for the perfect moment to show her exactly how wrong she was. I stayed in my room for most of the night, forcing myself to listen to the party unfold. Every laugh, every compliment, every time someone praised Nadia for her hard work felt like a knife twisting deeper. But I didn't leave. I needed to hear it all, to remember every lie she told. It would make what I had planned all the more satisfying. Eventually, the music died down, and I heard people saying their goodbyes. Nadia's voice was bright, cheerful, thanking everyone for coming, inviting them to her place again sometime soon. My stomach turned. After the last guest left, I walked out of my room. Nadia was in the living room, picking up empty glasses, her back to me. She didn't even flinch when she heard me. See? But before she left, she turned and smirked. You know, maybe if you had a little more confidence, people wouldn't believe this place was mine. You're just too plain. You should thank me for making your boring apartment look fun for once. The door slammed shut, and I stood there, shaking. I knew what I had to do. I spent the next week preparing. Nadia texted me once or twice, acting like nothing happened. I didn't respond. She'd figure it out soon enough. The plan was already coming together. I knew she was desperate to impress her co-workers, especially her boss, Diane. I'd heard her talking about it for months, how Diane only promoted people who looked successful, how she needed to prove she was better than the other candidates. That was why she'd stolen my apartment in the first place. She wanted to look like she was on Diane's level. And she must have pulled it off, because a few days later, she called me, practically buzzing with excitement. Guess what? Diane was so impressed with my new place that she asked me to host the next team dinner. I bit back the laughter that almost escaped. Your place, huh? There was a pause. Look, I know you're still mad, but please. This dinner is everything. If I do this right, I'll get the promotion for sure. Just one more night, okay? I let the silence stretch just long enough to make her squirm. Then I sighed. Fine. But I'll be there this time. I want to make sure nothing gets ruined. She hesitated, then agreed. Okay, whatever you want. Just, don't embarrass me. I smiled, knowing she couldn't see it. Wouldn't dream of it. The night of the dinner, Nadia showed up early, dressed to the nines, bossing me around like a hired help. Put the wine on the table. No, not there, over here. And please, try to look presentable. I don't want Diane thinking I invited my awkward little sister. I clenched my jaw but said nothing. She was playing right into my hands. Her co-workers arrived, all dressed in designer clothes, laughing and complimenting her taste. Nadia soaked it up, giving them a grand tour, pointing out my furniture, my decor, even my plants as if she had picked them out herself. I stayed quiet, lingering in the background, just like she expected me to. They didn't even ask who I was, just assumed I was hired help or something. Nadia never corrected them. Then Diane arrived, and the whole mood shifted. She was confident, elegant, the kind of woman who commanded attention without even trying. Nadia practically tripped over herself to impress her, pouring her wine, laughing too loud at her jokes. Diane looked around, her eyes sharp. This really is a beautiful place, Nadia. I had no idea you were doing so well. Nadia's face lit up, her smile dazzling. Oh, you know, hard work pays off. I fell in love with this place the moment I saw it. That's when I made my move. I stepped forward, clearing my throat. Actually, the first time Nadia saw this place was when she came over to borrow sugar. The room went dead silent. All eyes turned to me. Nadia's face went pale. What are you talking about? I smiled, keeping my voice steady. You see, this is my apartment. I bought it last year after getting promoted at my job. Nadia just borrows it sometimes when she needs to impress people. Diane's eyes narrowed. Nadia? Is this true? Nadia's mouth opened and closed, no words coming out. I pressed on, not giving her a chance to weasel out of it. I didn't mind at first. I mean, she said she just needed a quiet place to study. But then she threw herself a housewarming party here. Told everyone this was her place. Let them think she was the one who worked hard for all of this. The color drained from Nadia's face. Her hands were shaking. I didn't mean. I only wanted to impress you, I finished, looking straight at Diane. She thought if you saw her in a place like this, you'd think she was more successful than she really is. Diane's face hardened. She turned to Nadia. I don't like liars. Nadia tried to speak, but no sound came out. Her co-workers were whispering, their faces a mix of shock and disgust. I crossed my arms, standing tall for the first time in my life. I think it's time you all left my apartment. Diane didn't say another word. She turned and walked out, her heels echoing against the hardwood floor. The others followed, not even looking at Nadia as they passed. She stood there, frozen, tears welling up in her eyes. You ruined me. I looked at her, feeling nothing but cold satisfaction. No, Nadia. You did that all by yourself. Nadia stood there, her face pale, eyes wide with shock. I'd never seen her speechless before, and I thought that would be the end of it. I thought she'd finally learn her lesson. But I should have known better. Nadia always had a way of bouncing back, no matter what. The next morning, my phone buzzed non-stop. Messages from family, mutual friends, even people I hadn't spoken to in years. I opened the first text, and my stomach dropped. Heard you kicked Nadia out of her apartment. What the hell is wrong with you? I read another one. How could you do that to your own sister? I didn't know you were so heartless. I was too stunned to respond. What was going on? I scrolled through more messages, each one angrier than the last, accusing me of being cruel, selfish, and even jealous. Then I saw it, a social media post from Nadia. A picture of her, red-eyed, looking devastated, with a caption that read, "My own sister made me homeless because she couldn't stand seeing me happy." I don't know how someone could be so heartless. I felt the blood drain from my face. She was flipping the narrative, making herself the victim. And people were buying it. The comments were flooded with sympathy. I'm so sorry, Nadia. How could she do that to you? You can stay with me if you need to. I couldn't believe it. She'd lied right to my face, humiliated me, used me, and now she was playing the victim. And worse? It was working. I wanted to call her, to scream at her, but I knew that would only make me look worse. I needed to stay calm, to think this through. I needed proof. I went through my phone, looking for anything that would expose her lies, but there was nothing. I'd never thought to record our conversations, never thought to take pictures. Why would I? She was my sister. I trusted her. That's when it hit me, the security cameras. I'd almost forgotten about them. When I first moved in, the landlord insisted on installing a security system as part of the lease. There were cameras in the hallway and the living room, all linked to an app on my phone. I never used it, never had a reason to. But maybe. I pulled up the app, my fingers shaking as I scrolled through the recordings. There it was, clear footage of Nadia setting up for her housewarming party, putting up the banner, arranging the gifts, acting like she owned the place. Even better. There was audio. I played one of the clips, my heart racing as I heard her voice. I just had to buy this place. It's perfect for entertaining. My jaw clenched. She sounded so confident, so convincing. It was infuriating. But the next clip was even better. She was on the phone, laughing as she said, "My sister will never find out. She's too pathetic to stand up for herself anyway." My blood boiled, but I forced myself to stay calm. This was it. This was the proof I needed. I started downloading the clips, planning my next move. I knew exactly what to do. Nadia wanted to play games? Fine. Two could play. The first thing I did was send the recordings to my parents. I didn't bother with an explanation. I wanted the truth to speak for itself. It didn't take long for my phone to ring. My mother's voice was sharp, angrier than I'd ever heard her. Why didn't you tell us the truth? I let out a bitter laugh. Would you have believed me? She went quiet, and I knew the answer. Nadia was always the golden child, the one who could do no wrong. I was the quiet one, the pushover. Of course they wouldn't have believed me. But the videos were undeniable. Nadia's own words had exposed her for what she truly was, a liar, a manipulator. My mother sighed heavily. Your father and I will handle this. I promise. I didn't know what that meant, but I trusted them to finally do the right thing. I wasn't done, though. Nadia had humiliated me publicly, and she deserved the same in return. I uploaded the videos online, tagging all the people who'd commented on her sob story, including her coworkers. It went viral within hours. People were furious, not just because she lied, but because she'd used her own sister to do it. Her sympathy comments turned to outrage. I can't believe you did this. You used your sister for clout? You're a terrible person, Nadia. I watched it all unfold, feeling a twisted sense of satisfaction. For once, she was facing the consequences of her actions. But I underestimated just how far Nadia would go to save herself. The doorbell rang, and I opened it to find Nadia standing there, tears streaming down her face. But I didn't feel sorry for her. Not this time. How could you do this to me, she sobbed. You've ruined my life. I crossed my arms, my face cold. You did that to yourself. She stepped closer, her eyes wild. Diane fired me. I lost my job because of you. I felt a pang of guilt but quickly pushed it down. You lost your job because you lied. Don't blame me for that. Her face twisted with anger. I was just trying to get ahead. You don't understand how hard it is. Everything always comes easy for you. I laughed, the sound harsh. Easy? You think this was easy? I worked 2 jobs for years to afford this place. I sacrificed everything. You don't get to take that away from me because you want to look important. She looked like she wanted to argue, but then her shoulders slumped. She looked so small, so defeated. I don't have anywhere to go. They kicked me out of my apartment. I'm homeless. I hesitated. Despite everything, she was still my sister. I didn't want to see her on the streets. But then I remembered all the lies, all the humiliation, how she'd turned everyone against me without a second thought. I took a deep breath. That's not my problem. I started to close the door, but she grabbed the edge, her eyes wide with panic. Please. I'll do anything. Just let me stay here for a few days. Just until I figure something out. I looked at her, really looked at her. She was desperate, scared, and vulnerable. But was it real? Or just another act? My heart wavered, torn between wanting to help and wanting to protect myself. But before I could decide, she whispered, "You owe me." My blood ran cold. I owed her. After everything she'd done. She was still trying to manipulate me. My jaw tightened. I let go of the door, letting it swing open. Fine. Come in. But we're setting some ground rules. She nodded eagerly, wiping her tears. Anything. I promise. But as she walked past me, I couldn't shake the feeling that I just made a huge mistake. Because knowing Nadia, this was far from over. I let Nadia stay in my apartment. I told myself it was because she was my sister, because I couldn't just throw her out on the street. But deep down, I knew the truth. I wanted to see if she'd change, if she'd finally learn her lesson. Maybe then, we could start over. At first, she was on her best behavior. She was quiet, kept to herself, and even cleaned up after herself, which was a miracle in itself. I thought maybe she'd really changed, that losing her job and her reputation had finally humbled her. But the peace didn't last long. Within a week, her old habits started creeping back in. I'd come home to find her lounging on my couch, scrolling through social media like she didn't have a care in the world. Dishes piled up in the sink, and she left her clothes scattered all over the guest room. I tried to be patient, to keep my cool, but it wasn't easy. She was still acting like she owned the place, like she hadn't learned anything at all. And then, one night, I came home to find her sitting at my dining table, typing on her laptop. She didn't even look up when I walked in. "Hey," I said, setting my bag down. "What are you working on?" She shrugged, still not looking at me. "Just updating my resume. I have a job interview tomorrow." That was the first good news I'd heard from her since she moved in. "Really? That's great. Where at?" Her fingers froze on the keyboard. She hesitated, then said, "At your company." I felt my heart skip a beat. I locked myself in my room, my heart pounding. This was a mistake. Letting her stay here was a mistake. She wasn't going to change. She was never going to change. But I didn't know how to fix it. If I kicked her out now, she'd just twist the story again, make me look like the bad guy. But if I let her stay, she'd keep using me. There was no way to win. That night, I barely slept. I kept going over everything in my head, replaying all the times she'd lied to me, manipulated me, made me feel worthless. I thought about how she'd used my apartment, my hard work, and claimed it as her own. And I realized something: I was letting her do it. I was giving her the power to ruin my life. No more. The next morning, I made up my mind. I walked into the kitchen, where Nadia was pouring herself a cup of coffee. She glanced at me, completely unfazed. "You look like crap. Didn't sleep?" I ignored the jab. "You're moving out. Today." Her head snapped up, eyes wide. "Excuse me? You heard me. You lied to me, you humiliated me, and you still don't feel bad about it. I don't owe you anything. Pack your stuff and get out." Her mouth dropped open. "You can't be serious. I don't have anywhere else to go. That's not my problem. I let you stay because I thought you'd change, but you haven't. You're just using me, like you always do. Not anymore." Her face twisted with anger. "After everything I've done for you, this is how you repay me?" I laughed, the sound harsh. "Done for me? You've never done anything for me. You've taken, and I let you because I was too scared to stand up for myself. But not anymore. I'm done being your doormat." She dropped her coffee mug, and it shattered on the floor. Her face turned red, her hands shaking. "You're so selfish. You have everything. A great job, a beautiful apartment, everything just handed to you. And you won't even help your own sister." My chest tightened, but I forced myself to stay strong. Nothing was handed to me. I worked for this. I earned this. And you don't get to take it away from me just because you're jealous. Tears filled her eyes, but I didn't feel sorry for her. Not this time. She wasn't crying because she was sorry. She was crying because she was losing. "I'll tell everyone you kicked me out. I'll make sure they all know how heartless you are," she screamed, her voice breaking. I looked at her, my voice cold. "Go ahead. But this time, I kept the proof. I have the security footage of your party, of everything you said about me. Try to twist the story again, and I'll post it all." Her face went pale. She knew I was serious. She knew she'd lost. She turned and ran to the guest room, slamming the door behind her. I heard her screaming, throwing things, but I didn't move. I stood there, feeling a strange mix of relief and pain. I loved her. She was my sister. But I couldn't let her destroy me anymore. She left that afternoon, dragging her suitcases out the door without another word. She didn't even look at me. I watched her leave, my heart heavy but my mind clear. I'd done the right thing. I don't know where she went, and I don't know if she'll ever speak to me again. But I do know that for the first time in my life, I stood up for myself. And that's worth everything.